Hey, welcome to the webinar. This is Dave with Lobo Business Sales LLC. I want to thank you for joining the webinar. It's going to be a quick webinar, about 30 minutes long. We're going to go over how to get your business sold, general outline of why and where and pricing, all that good stuff. I could keep going on, but let's go ahead and get into the first slide. The mission statement is simple: to get your business sold properly by planning up front. There's an old saying, those who fail to plan fail, and those who plan not to fail. So let's go ahead and plan correctly and get that business sold. Here's the problem. If you look at most business for sale websites and statistics over the years, less than 20% of businesses actually sell. There's a lot of reasons for this. We can go into those, but basically, you got to say, if there's only 20% that sell, how do I get in that 20%? Well, let's not even go that far yet, because of those 20% that actually sell, less than 10% are going to sell for full ask or very close to ask, and even less than that take forever to sell. There's the problems. How do we find the solution to fix that? That's in the next slide. The solution sounds simple, but it goes into the mission statement that we talked about. It's to take all the steps that you can proactively that are in your control to properly prepare the business for sale before you go to market. When you do this, you are positioning the business to be in the most opportune light so you can actually attract not only the most acquirers, but the right acquirers, and actually have the odds in your favor to close that business. Keep in mind, having somebody interested in a business and have somebody actually buying and closing on your business, giving you that nice exit, are two completely different things. So it comes down to taking all those steps that you can do up front. Now, what are these steps all about? And do you have to do them all by yourself? Absolutely not. In fact, one of the key mantras that we believe in is a team. We're going to talk about that in the next slide. Whenever you do anything, you need to build a team. Think of it like this. If you were getting ready to shoot a Hollywood blockbuster movie, would you look to direct, produce, be the executive producer, raise capital, do permitting, get the actors, do the costumes, do the makeup, do the post-editing? You get the idea. There's different stages, and the way that a Hollywood blockbuster actually gets to the movies and becomes a Hollywood blockbuster is because they have the right team players. It's the same thing with selling a business. When you're selling a business, there's different aspects and different team players that you want to have involved. Now, some people will say, I'll just sell my business myself. That's fine. You're absolutely able to do that if you choose to. But there are so many moving parts, it's almost going to put you in that 80% of businesses that don't sell. The way to do it is position yourself with the right team players. Now, what team players do you need? Well, number one, and probably the quickest one you want to do, you want to have a team player that's been there, done that, knows the route, and it can actually guide you from point A to point B. Point A is wanting to sell a business. Point B is actually selling the business. That individual is going to be a business broker. Simple, to the point, the easiest way to do it. You need to have a business broker on your team. In fact, you need to have a business broker that is experienced and has the capability to not only get you from point A to point B, but help you assemble your team. Number two, most businesses are going to be looked at on cash flow. What is the cash flow that a new owner can get? These are going to be reflected by financials. Financials are going to be part of what your accountant is going to do. So you have to have a good accountant that can actually prepare these financial reports so they are shown in the most articulate, transparent that are shown in the most transparent and articulate manner available, period. When a buyer wants to buy a business, they're buying for cash flow, but they want to also know where that cash flow is coming. But they also want to know where that cash flow is coming and have the financials to support it. Number three, there's a lot of moving parts, as I said, in selling a business. One of those parts is when you transition out. This will come into non-compete clauses, training and transition, reps and warranties, a whole host of items. These are mostly going to be in your contract or your letter of intent, which is actually going to transfer into your asset purchase agreement. These are a lot of terminologies that you don't need to concern yourself with too much at this point, but you want to be able to have that team player that can actually deal with all the legal parts of the transitioning of the business, bill of sale, once again, reps and warranties, non-compete clauses, post-closing transition. All these things are outlined and done in a legal format through your attorney. Keep in mind, there's lots of attorneys out there and they all have their different specialties. Just as if you have a doctor, you want to go to a doctor, let's say you had a foot injury, you want to go to a foot doctor. Let's say you got a car wreck and you're in the ER, you're going to deal with a trauma doctor. Each one has its own specialty. Same thing in the business environment. You want to deal with an attorney that has experience with business transitions and business sales. That's number three. And number four, most businesses are sold with some type of financing. Once in a while, seller will hold financing, but most sellers that are looking for an exit are looking to cash out in some form or another. That can either be done by a cash purchase, which sounds great, but the fact is they almost never happen, and when they do, they're at heavily discounted prices, or it's a buyer that's acquired it through a financing mechanism. The most common is what's known as a 7A program, which is through the SBA. Now, the SBA doesn't give the actual loan, they just guarantee it against default to the banker. So you need to have a banking professional that has the ability not only to lend in the SBA arena, but also in the niche market that you have. Keep in mind, all bankers don't lend across the board on every aspect. Some specialize in their specific niche, just like a business attorney will practice in their niche, etc. So once you have your team in place, then it's formulating that plan to get it going and actually implementing all those team members to get your business sold. That's where your business broker comes in. Your business broker handles most of the liaison part and making sure that all the team players are working towards that common goal. That common goal is to get your business sold fast, efficient, and for top dollar. One of the things that you want to do is you want to understand the average timeline that it takes to sell a business. Let's look at a couple examples. Number one, let's say you're selling a tangible item like a car. Somebody comes in, sees an ad, maybe sees it on the side of the road with a nice little for sale sign on it. They look at it, drive it, give you cash, a check, wire, Bitcoin, or maybe Dogecoin. You never know in today's days. Take the car, drive off, they're done. Usually that's a one-day transaction. Let's say you're selling a house. You sell a house, get some inspection, some financing done, close on the house. That's usually a 15 to 30 day, sometimes as much as 60-day transition. It's not like that with the business. The best thing to do before you go into selling a business is understanding what the metrics are and the time frame of what to expect. Now, everything is different and there can be different parts as far as less, more, or completely outside the realm of averages. But on average, the average business takes 8 to 10 months to sell. That seems like a long time, but you'll be surprised on how fast it goes because there's no quote unquote dead time in that part. Each part has its own thing. So let me give you an example, and we're going to highlight in the timeline that we have outlined here. We're going to start as a January timeline just to keep it simple. The first couple of months, and usually this can be done sometimes in 2 days, sometimes it can be done in 3 months, sometimes it takes 6 months to do. It's all dependent on how fast that team is working and how much material is available up front. The first part we want to go go into? It goes into our mission statement, is having the business properly prepared before we go to market. These are preparing all the marketing. The marketing is going to be the nice flyers and the solicitation materials that a broker is going to use, but also it's going to be a recasting and an analysis of all the financials of the business. These all have to be done to come up with what's known as a seller's discretionary earnings or discretionary earnings. These are normally going to be reflected on businesses at $2 million and under, or most owner-operated businesses in Main Street transitions. If you're dealing something in a more lower middle market arena, which is going to be up to about 25 million, about 2 million, about 25 million, usually you're dealing with something that's not always owner operated. Owner might still be there and have some activity in the business, but a lot of times you have different managers involved and stuff like that. Those are normally going to be treated on an EBIT or an EBITDA level. Those are different analysis that will go forward, and actually that time frame might even be a little bit longer because there's a lot of parties involved. Anything really above there, you're dealing completely in the middle market. That's going to be M&A arena. Anything over about 150, 200 million, you're going to be dealing with good old Wall Street. So anyways, most Main Street businesses, which is probably a lot of people that are looking at this, or the lower middle market, that initial marketing material time frame is usually about 30 to 60 days. So if we're starting in January, realistically, we should expect to get through that phase 30 to 60 days, or February to March. Okay, now we go into March, and we're offering that business for sale. So everything that we've done up to that is just getting it ready to bring to market. Once again, using those other examples, think of it as like selling a car. You don't just put a car out there. You want to make sure it's washed, detailed, the oil's changed, you have air in the tires, it runs well, and there's no crazy little sounds. Same thing with the business. You want to make sure all the financials are there, everything's nice. If you have a restaurant, it's nice and clean, the hood system's clean, all the inspections are done, the employee HR is all up to date, etc. You go to market. When you're offering for sale, this, in my opinion, is the number one reason why you hire a broker. A broker is going to help you save your time. When you're running a business, your job is actually to run the business, not to sell the business. It's very difficult to do all that within a 24-hour time frame, especially if you want to sleep and eat. So when it's being offered for sale, there's going to be a multitude of inquiries if everything was done properly beforehand. Those need to be whittled out or weeded down, pushing aside unqualified, whether it's financially experienced, whatever the case is, and just straight tire kickers. This is actually going to lead down to a handful of people. So if you have 100 inquiries, you might actually end up with 5 to 10 that actually have the financial capability and the experience level to go after to go forward. These are going to actually go into the next stage, which is an introduction to the business itself and the business owner to see if there's a good fit from both point of views. If so, that's when we're probably going to go into receiving offers. So that offer for sale, or that solicitation period to get the business sold, is usually going to be about 60 to 90 days. Though you can have it happen right away, it is odd because even a great business, most people are going to wait a couple weeks just to see if there's any price changes or stuff like that. So that brings us all the way into June. At that point, you're going to review offers. Reviewing offers, this is when your attorney's first usually going to step in, because it's not just the price you're getting, it's the terms. So there's a lot of attorney negotiation. Attorneys will do what's known as redlining and make edits on if there's a letter of intent being presented or an offer being presented. Usually they're very efficient. So that can be done sometimes as quick as a week, but in your mindset, you want to really have about a 30-day time frame for that. Once that's completed and it's solidified, you're going to enter what's known as a due diligence phase. That due diligence phase, it's a whole nother video. But in a nutshell, in the most simple and simplistic format, it's where the buyer verifies everything that's been represented by the seller as far as the financials and the business and the permitting, any liens that are out there, etc., etc. Normally, when that is going on in parallel, you're going to have the initial financing that's being conducted from a bank if there's financing involved. Depending on how quickly banks get all their materials, normally a bank will go from the review of the materials to actually issuing the commitment to lend in about 30 days or less. That's what every bank will tell you. But here's the caveat, for lack of better words, is that timeline starts when they have everything that they need. So a lot of times that will vary greatly depending on how quickly all the materials they need are actually presented to them. So once the due diligence is done, it's satisfied from all parties' perspective. Once the financing commitment to lend has been done, that's when you're actually going to have the attorneys prepare all the closing documents. Once again, whole nother video, but there's a lot of paperwork involved. Complete any assignment of lease if there's lease negotiations. If there's an actual real estate underneath as far as commercial, those items have to be done, and that's actually a separate closing, but they're done on a contingent basis of each other. That's when you actually close. Now keep in mind, once you close, once again, a whole nother video, there's a lot of post-closing items that will go into effect, but roughly that puts you from January to October. And once again, 8 to 10 months sounds like a lot of time, but you're busy the whole time, so it goes a lot faster. Now keep in mind, we've had businesses where from the very first call that we had as a discovery call saying, speaking to a business owner that they want to sell, to actually closing, we've done some as little as 60 days or less. And we've had some that have taken a few years. Once again, it depends on the complexity, how big the market is for that particular buyer, and gives you an overview of what it is. This was a pretty long part on this slide, but it's important to understand. With that said, let's go ahead and go into the next one. I want to take one step out and say you're probably having questions. Your actual mind might be going in a whirlwind, saying, "Well, what about this? What about this? What about this?" Don't worry about trying to get everything in one bite, one sitting, one webinar. There's too many topics, and keep in mind, we believe every business sale, literally every business sale, even if it's two of the same in the same niche, are going to be unique in nature, unique to your situation. You have questions. That's fine. The easiest way to have your questions answered is to just have a discovery call with us. They're confidential, no obligation, no hard sales or pressure. We're here to help when you're ready. You can send us questions via email, on a phone call, but usually having just a quick discovery call is the best way, number one, to say hello, answer any questions you have. So feel free to jot down your questions. I just wanted to toss in a quick slide because we're about halfway through. Like I was mentioning, how it actually works, step one is just having a discovery call. That discovery call, once again, as a reminder, confidential. I think that's a big part, because a lot of times somebody might be thinking about selling their business, but they just don't want anybody to know. Sometimes they don't want their employees to know, their partners, sometimes even the spouse, competitors. They just want to keep it quiet, but they're interested, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, 10 years from now. They want to have an idea of what processes they can start doing now. So the first step is have a discovery call. Number two, and is usually a good idea, is you need to have a business valuation done. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You can have a full business appraisal from a business appraisal company. Those will range in value, but they start at about $5,000. They go up to $15,000 or more, depending on the complexity of the valuation that's being completed. Or you can do more of a scaled down version, which is known as a business broker opinion and value. This is normally done on an income approach and done what's the most realistic or most probable selling price is the terminology that's used. This will be showcasing your discretionary net earnings and applying the multiple and past like-kind sales. Most business brokers will do this for complimentary in hopes to a future engagement for their services, and outside of that, there's very minimal fees, usually $2,500 or less. So if you're interested in that, feel free to shop around at our firm. We work with you to come up with a solution, whichever is best for you. Number three, and I think this is important, is you need to have a market strategy. The market strategy is just not saying, okay, we're going to take it to market, but you had your discovery call, you have an idea what the business is worth, and if it gets you the number that you're more or less looking for your exit strategy or for the sale of the business, you move forward to go into that market strategy. If not, you need to build the business to the level that you need to get to. But it's having that market strategy and saying, okay, this is how we plan to go market. This is how we're looking to do it. But more importantly, what areas or what acquirers are we looking to target? If you're looking at an owner-operated business versus a lower middle market business, those are two completely different, night and day, as far as marketing goes and who you're actually looking to target to acquire your business. So you need to know those 3 steps. So step 1, discovery call. Step 2, business valuation. Step 3, have the marketing strategy. Once you have all those done, you're ready for the next step. So the 3 items that we want to make sure that you have to successfully sell your business. And as a reminder, I keep pounding this home. The statistics are there and they've been there for a long time. Less than 20% of advertised businesses actually sell. Even less than that sell for full or close to full asking, and even less of that sell in a reasonable amount of time. You need to do the following 3 items to be in that 20% or better that actually gets to the finish line and puts a smile on your face. Number 1, you have to price it right. Business sales and people that are buying a business are buying for the cash flow most of the time. There's very few occasions, and there's some rare examples where somebody just wants to be in a geographic location, or they want a like-kind business or going into another vertical, but those are rare. Most of them are buying for that cash flow of the business in that niche that they're looking to be in. They're going to look at that on comparables. So you need to be within those comparables, or it's not going to sell. And if there's financing involved, if you have financing involved, it's not going to, it won't appraise to support that, and the financing won't be approved. That actually goes into step 2, the financing. Most businesses that actually sell are going to be done with some sort of financing. Now, you can do it as a seller held. There's benefits, pros and cons to that side. And it's really unique to your situation. You want to talk about that on your discovery call. Number 2 is you want to have a bank pre-approve that business for SBA lending. Once again, there's a lot of different ways that are done. There's a lot of different lenders that focus on different arenas. So you want to have one that's right for you. And number 3, you must target the right buyer. Think about selling antique cars, and you had just a cherry 69 convertible Camaro, all spiffed out. That's really not a target. If you started targeting that, the sale of that to first time buyers that need a good commuting car back and forth, you're targeting the wrong buyer. You need to target antique buyers or collectible collectors. You kind of get the idea. It's the same thing with the business. You want to target the right buyer for the right business. So I want to end the webinar here with one last slide. So let's go ahead and go into that. Why now? Why should you look to sell your business now if it's the right time for you? And what should you do? It comes down to time. Money is great. Being a business owner is great. There's all these things that are great, but one thing that you have to keep in mind is time. Time is finite. What you want to do with it is really up to you, but it's like a big checkerboard, and every time there's a change in color, that's one piece of time that's gone. So a lot of times people will look to sell a business because they want to retire. Well, there's that saying of the bucket list, all the things that you want to do, whether it's skydiving, getting a Harley and going across Europe on a around the world cruise, whatever the case is. Spend more time with the kids. It doesn't matter. It's personal to you. But the one thing that's common to everybody is the time factor. the longer you wait for these things to happen, the more those checkered boxes are turning color. That time's gone. That time's gone. When it's gone, you can't get it back. Everything else in life, money, gold, businesses up, down, all that stuff can be replaced. Time can't. So that's important. So retirement aspect is one part. The other part, people will look to sell a business is they want to do something else. The passion's just not there. So let's say they thought they always wanted a sports bar because they love rooting for sports bars, but they just can't stand the smell of frying up chicken wings, and they can't stand all the yelling when the team score that they hate. But that's what all the customers are in there for that for that game. If that passion isn't there, you need to get out, and you need to move on to what you are passionate about. Once again, those checkerboards keep changing colors. The time's gone. You can replace the business. You can't replace the time. And the third one is just cashing out. So a lot of people want to cash out and use that capital to move into something else. Once again, that's a time factor. So it's saying those checker boxes, changing color. Every time it flips and turns to another, you just lost that time. So why now? It's because time is finite. What do you want to do with your remaining time? You want to do what's in your heart and what's best for you. And if selling a business helps in actually seeing that to reality, that's where we can help you. I'd like to thank you for viewing the webinar and spending the last 30 or so minutes with us. Hope it brought a little bit of enlightenment. So what should you do now? We're going to end that in our next video, and I have a video there. Just go ahead and hit the link, and feel free to give us a call when you're ready. globalbusinesssales.com. This is Dave, and I want to thanks again for spending the time with us. Have a great day. Seven reasons you should hire a business broker to sell your business. Someday, whether today, tomorrow, or in the future, you will be faced with a decision. This decision will be the form of a question you will ask yourself, which is typically one of the following. Number one, should I retire? I've been working a very long time, have enough saved up, and just want to spend the rest of my years with my family, friends, and activities I love. Although being the boss of my business has offered me many benefits, maybe it's time to retire and move to the next chapter of my life. Number two, should I focus my energy on a different business or project? Although I have a great business, I really know my passion lies in another opportunity. Am I going to miss my chance? Should I make the jump and focus on something I love to do? Number three, is it time to simply cash out? I know sometimes it is just time to cash in my chips and walk away. Even though I have built a great business, maybe it's time to enjoy the fruits of my labor and risk taken. Simply put, is it time to cash out? All these possible decisions have one thing in common, and that is simply this. They require you to sell your business to make your decision a reality. Now that we know what we want to do, whether it's retirement, new opportunities, or cashing out, and we know we need to sell our business to make this happen, the question is simply this: how do we sell my business? The answer is simple. Find a professional business broker. That is Lobo Business Sales, LLC. Here are the 7 reasons you want a business broker. Number 1, your job is running your business. A business broker's job is to sell your business. It is just too much for a business owner to run their business and try to sell it at the same time. Number 2, you want to keep the sale of your business confidential. Selling a business is typically done on a confidential basis. Using a non-disclosure agreement with a business broker keeps this so. Number 3, you want to filter out tire kickers and only work with pre-screened buyers and serious buyers. Simply put, it only makes sense to work with buyers who have the financial ability to buy your business. Number 4, the process has a lot of moving parts. You need to be familiar with the steps involved. Number 5, business brokers have the tools to sell your business. This includes business data of past comparable sales, forms, networks, and business memberships. Number 6, business brokers who are members of the Business Brokers of Florida and International Business Brokers Association bring one of the largest cooperative networks of brokers worldwide. Number 7, working with Lobo Business Sales teams you with a professional business brokerage that can get your business sold for top dollar. Now that you know why you want to Lobo Business Sales LLC as your professional business broker, the only thing left is to get started. Take the first step and book a free initial consultation with Lobo Business Sales LLC. Our professionals will give you an overview of the process of selling your business and provide you a realistic range of what the business may be worth in the market. No pressure, no obligation, just professional business brokers who are here for you when you are ready to sell your business. Take the first step and book your free call with Lobo Business Sales LLC. Just use the link below to book your free initial consultation. Thank you.